Hey guys, what's up? Jenny here again, and today we're going to be taking a look at patch 2.1.2 hotfix. Alright, so let's scroll up a little bit over here. Live and upcoming hotfixes. Where is it? Where is it? Dramatically increasing the damage of the Conduit Pylon in both Nephilim and Greater Rifts. So there it is. As you guys know, in patch 2.1.1, Conduit Pylons were basically the means to kill Greater Rift bosses. You found the Conduit Pylon, you spawn the boss, you click the Conduit Pylon, the boss is dead in 5 seconds, even if you're like in Greater Rift 70. And then in patch 2.1.2, they changed it so that Conduit Pylon damage is reflected on your own damage, your weapon damage, basically. And also in 2.1.2, what they did was, in 2.1.1, any pylon in general would randomly spawn in a Greater Rift, but they would be very uncommon. You maybe see one pylon every 4, 5, 7 Greater Rifts, and then there were 5 pylons, so the chances of getting Conduit Pylon plus a really good rift were not super great. But now, like I said, the Conduit Pylon no longer just flat out kills the boss, but now you get one of each pylon in every Greater Rift, so that definitely tones down the RNG. But in patch 2.1.2, they really hit Conduit Pylon so hard to the point where it did absolutely no damage at all. Like, if you clicked it, it would hit things and the health bars would barely even move. Maybe if it was like a small white blob, you'd see the health bar ticking down a little bit. But Conduit Pylon was really bad. I mean, you could get a power pylon and a Conduit Pylon stacked and it still wasn't good. It still was not good. Alright, so in this hotfix, they buffed the damage of the Conduit Pylon, and is it the way it was before, where it'd kill a boss in 5 seconds? Absolutely not. But the thing is, it's not completely worthless anymore. Alright, so I went into a Greater Rift 48 to test this new 2.1.2 Conduit Pylon, and I popped the Conduit Pylon on a Greater Rift boss, Greater Rift 48. The boss was Raziel, the lightning boss, and I popped both my Wrath of the Berserker, my Call of the Ancients, and I was charging back and forth a little bit, but with no single target. It was just a pure charge build. Yeah, no Frenzy, no Bolkathos Ring or anything like that. Anyways, in the 15 seconds, I wound up doing 20% of that boss's health in Greater Rift 48, and that is really good. That's actually really good. 15 seconds for 20%. Now, that was, from 100% down to 80%. Now, mobs below 30% health take 40% increased damage, which is really big. So if you use the Conduit Pylon for the last 30%, it would have done, the full 30%. It would have killed him if I would have saved the Conduit for the end. Also, there's a small chance that you might see pylons next to each other. So if you manage to grab a power pylon and then run over to a Conduit Pylon, man, if you could get those two pylons stacked on top of each other, you're gonna do a ton of damage to a Greater Rift boss. You still might not completely kill it, but I don't see any way that, well, at least in the Greater Rift 48 situation, it would do less than 50% of the boss's health. So, does this lead to more Conduit fishing? Except now we're fishing for, the rare opportunity of having a Conduit and a power pylon close enough to each other. I mean, say in group Greater Rifts, what you could do is you only need to find a Conduit Pylon and a power pylon on the same floor. Now you could spawn the boss by the conduit pylon, and you could have the majority of your group by the conduit pylon, and one person over by the power pylon. You know, the one person clicks the power pylon. As long as you're on the same floor, everyone gets the buff, and then the 3 people click the conduit pylon. And I don't know, man, I think like it's gonna do some heavy damage to a Greater Rift boss, maybe even completely killing it, but it's definitely gonna trivialize it. Now for, you know, like for group play, that's a little less RNG, but I don't know, it's almost to the point where conduit fishing is gonna be back. I mean, when it comes down to it, to clear the highest possible rift you can, you need to find a rift with the best possible circumstances. And if this conduit power pylon combination exists, then you're gonna need that as part of the best possible circumstances. Now, I did 20% of Raziel's health. Imagine if I got Stone Slinger. Stone Slinger has way less health than all the bosses. So if I would have gotten Stone Slinger plus a power conduit, man, I think that's GG. But the thing is that the conduit pylon becomes less and less powerful the higher and higher and higher you go in Greater Rifts. Now, right now as it stands, with my barb the way it is, I have an ancient furnace. So here, I was playing around with my Maximus earlier, but here I have an ancient furnace and, you know, pretty good gear, and I managed to do 47 on the 2.1.2 PTR. I haven't really tried too hard to do Greater Rifts on 2.1.2 live yet, because, you know, basically the last patch being a part of the same season kind of makes anything we do now almost useless. But now with this conduit pylon change, it could make a difference, like I said. Anyways, I got an ancient legendary furnace. I did the 47 with a regular furnace as well. So now with the ancient legendary furnace, I feel like that could bump me up a potential 4 levels or so. So I feel like even without this conduit power pylon combination, I could do a Greater Rift 50 to 52 with this current setup, and, you know, really good circumstances. You know, I've tested a lot, I've played a lot, I've come pretty close to actually clearing a 50 with very few attempts. Like I said, I just haven't been attempting it. But like I said, now with the conduit power pylon combination, if you're lucky enough to get the two close enough to be able to use them together, then yeah, I mean, we might be looking at 55 plus potential clears again. We really might be looking at I can't talk right now. We might be looking at that for season 2. We might be looking at some more conduit fishing, just in a different way. I mean, regardless, we're fishing because we're fishing for the right rift boss, we're fishing for the right map types, we're fishing for the mobs that are worth the most progression points. But now, I mean, it might come down to fishing for a conduit pylon plus a power pylon next to each other, plus Stone Slinger, plus mobs that are worth good progression points, plus good map types. I mean, the things we gotta fish for in 2.1.2, I think create way more RNG than the one thing, the conduit pylon, and, well, 2 things, conduit pylon and density. That's what you needed in 2.1.1. A good map type helped too, but I mean, the main things you need was density and a conduit pylon. And now we go from fishing for those 2 things to fishing for like 5 or 6 things. Because, you know, in 2.1.2, density isn't really good enough. Now we need density, but we need the mobs that are worth really, really good progression points, like Unburieds and Dust Eaters. Now we gotta worry about what Rift Boss spawns. Because, you know, Conduit Pylon doesn't just take anything out. But if you get a Conduit Pylon with a Power Pylon and you get Stone Slinger, now it will, you see? So to get that same kind of Conduit clear that we used to get in 2.1.1, we need to meet these incredible odds. So yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure this all out, kind of just compare the two. I don't know, guys. What do you think? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, but from what it's looking like, take your boats out, because we're going fishing in Season 2. That was corny as fuck. Bye.